It's easy to look around and notice everything wrong in your city. In this podcast by Every Neighborhood Partnership, join Grace and Andrew as they invite friends, activists, pastors, leaders, and city workers to discover what's good in the neighborhood. Join us for insightful conversations that will encourage you to see your city and its people in a new way.
Welcome to What's Good in the Neighborhood. My name is Andrew. Today on the podcast, we have Mariana Diaz with Mennonite Central Committee, MCC. She's doing work around immigration and helping folks apply for immigration benefits. And so we really just talk about some of the local issues. What are the reasons folks are coming to our valley, to our area? What are some of the changes that need to happen locally, nationally? And why is there a larger question or fear around immigration, and even kind of a little dive into what does the scripture say about it? How does the narrative of faith impact this work? Mariana has been at United Farm Workers, she's been at MCC, and had experience also with the National Immigration Forum. So she brings a ton of experience, her own personal journey, and it's a great conversation. So hope you enjoy. All right, well, welcome to What's Good in the Neighborhood. My name is Andrew File, and I am rocking solo this time. Sickness, it's early February. Sickness is ravaging all my friends, all their kids. And so Grace is out sick, and taking care of some little ones that are sick. So I'm here with Mariana Diaz. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Good. So we are diving into a topic that is on immigration. As Grace and I were thinking about this kind of like next season, we just honestly knew that the Trump administration is coming in. We knew last time that there was a real strong language around immigration, about immigrants, frankly, fear, creating a culture of fear, demonizing immigrants and folks that are coming into this country through all means and methods. And so, it's an issue in the Valley that we just know it's really, really important. Fresno has always been a community of immigrants, right, from its founding to now. And then I think as we've done work on our own spiritual journey, as we use the lens of Scripture, the Scriptures are a text from an immigrant perspective. And so it's an important issue that we just want to have a deeper conversation. So in this coming podcast series, you're going to hear from MCC and from Mariana. You're going to hear from Mark Bowers of World Relief, and he's going to talk more about, some of even the folks that are coming into this country that have been vetted and approved, and some of the refugee resettlement work that they're doing with World Relief. And then Ariana is going to share some of her own personal journey and learning. So thank you so much for being here. Just give me a little context. Who are you? How did you get into this work? What do you do for your day-to-day?
Yes. So my name is Mariana Diaz, and I am a Fresno native. I grew up here. I'm from the area. I attended Fresno Pacific University.
Go Sunbirds.
Yes. love FPU. And I think that that's really where my passion for immigration law grew. I come from an immigrant family. I'm very familiar with the immigrant process, the hardships that our immigrant community faces, even navigating the immigration law realm. That's a whole thing in itself. And so I was very familiar already with how hard it is for immigrants. And I think entering FPU, it really opened up my eyes like, hey, this is a bigger issue nationally, around the world. And so I majored in political science. And I also did a minor in international relations because, it goes hand in hand with immigration. And I had the opportunity to study in Washington, D.C. for a semester where I interned for the National Immigration Forum.
Okay, yeah.
And that really, we did more policy work as to immigration law, kind of moving those pieces because, as we know, our immigration law, it's super broken. There's so many loopholes. And, it stops people from being able to apply for any immigration benefit. So after I graduated from FPU, I said, I really want to help my community and advocate for them and just be a voice. And so I went directly into the United Farm Workers Foundation, where I started off as a legal assistant, and then I was able to receive my accreditation from the Department of Justice. So I was able to represent clients and helping them apply for immigration benefits, whether that was family petitions, their residency for the first time, consular processing, residents applying for naturalization, just, being a voice for them, helping them and navigating them and representing them in those types of cases, which is, it's really hard immigration law is complex.
So there is a set of trainings that the government has. If you want to help people do that process, you have to go through classes or workshops or something.
Exactly. So in order to receive your Department of Justice accreditation, you have to submit trainings that certificates of training that you've completed. You have to complete a 40-hour training minimum and ongoing trainings all throughout your career. So even attorneys, they have to continue to attend trainings after they graduate law school. That's something that's required for everyone. And now I'm a legal immigration caseworker at the West Coast Mennonite Central Committee. And they're the same thing. We're accredited by the Department of Justice to provide these immigration law services. So we are authorized, to provide the legal advice and represent the clients in their cases. And our program is awesome. We are small but mighty. It's me and my coworker, Cristal, that's also out sick. She was going to join us, but, we are here to serve our community. We are based out of Reedley, and we are hoping to get our other office in Fresno certified. But right now, based out of Reedley, and we're more than happy to help our community in applying for, any immigration benefit that they may need help with.
Tell me about people. People may not know what MCC is, Mennonite Central Committee. What do they do globally, and then why is immigration an area of focus for you all? Yes,
so MCC, Mennonite Central Committee, they dedicate their work for peace, development, and relief. So around the world, they help with community development, peace building, providing any type of relief. So, relief may be like school kits. We do that locally in our Reedley office. Volunteers come and, make the school kits, and we send them off to any other country that may need it. Community development, whether that be building wells.
I had a friend who spent time in India, right?
Yes.
For 9 months, the SALT program.
Yes,
was
the
in
SALT
India.
program. Yeah. And in the peace building, we have, people in schools in Dinuba giving classes about peace building and all that. So we wanted to see how can we help our community locally, because we do all of this, international work, but what's the issue locally? And I think here in the Central Valley, it's immigration. Yeah. There is such a huge need for immigration services. So that's how we are helping our community develop in themselves to be able to reach, residency or lawful status. So that's how we come into play in the MCC, is providing these services. And our services are low cost. So, and we never turn away a client if they're unable to pay. We always work with them and provide a free service if necessary, because our goal is for the client to come first and to meet their needs, and not, the income or anything like that.
At Every Neighborhood Partnership, we believe that strong, vibrant communities start with engaged and empowered residents. To make that happen, we need your help. Our mission is to connect neighbors, create opportunities for local leadership, and transform neighborhoods through education, collaboration, and advocacy. Every dollar you donate goes directly to supporting programs that make a real difference, whether it's providing land use education, elementary literacy mentoring, or healthy spaces to help kids and our families grow. When you donate to EMP, you're not just giving money, you're investing in a future where every neighborhood in Fresno has the tools and resources it needs to thrive. Your contribution, whether big or small, ensures that our communities have a seat at the table in the decisions that affect them most. So if you believe in seeing students excel, our community members healthy and whole, and our neighborhoods thriving, we invite you to make a donation today. Just visit everyneighborhood.org or tap the link in the show notes to give. Your support helps develop the next generation of leaders like Fresno depends on it. Donate now to Every Neighborhood Partnership. I think as we think about, and you feel free if you want to share your own family's journey in this, immigration is like, it's always about push and pull factors, right? So from all these countries, you have things that are pulling people to America, like jobs, opportunity, other family members. But you also have a lot of things pushing them out of their home country, right? Violence, poor living conditions, poverty, hopelessness. There could be drugs. There's a lot of push and pull factors of why somebody is trying to create this best next chance for their family. What are you seeing? Like, if you want to share any of your family's own story in that, or like, what do you see from the clients that you're working with? Why are folks coming to America? What is the thing that's pushing them out, or the thing that's drawing them in?
Yes. So I think all immigrants coming to the United States, they don't do it on a whim. It's like they have to seriously think and the risk, because it's dangerous, first of all. But people coming from Central America, they have to cross so much land to get here. They're not doing it for any reason. My family, thankfully, weren't persecuted. They came here, for the American dream. They came from poverty. There's where they're from in Mexico, there's no jobs. They're not able to provide a living for their family. So they were able to immigrate here and, go through the residency process and all of that. They came here, a long time ago. But for people coming now, it's highly because they're being persecuted out of their country. We have seen, people face awful situations on their way here. They are fleeing cartel violence. They are fleeing also poverty on top of that. But, they're trying to escape violence. The majority of the individuals are trying to escape violence, and that's why a lot of them were seeking asylum at the border. But now, as we know, it's been terminated. The CPB-1 has been terminated. And to me, it's kind of, we know why, Trump attacks the southern border. It's because he doesn't want, immigrants coming from the southern border. He wants them to come legally, but he's stopping, he stopped CPB-1. That was allowing them to come legally. And it's like, well, how are we supposed to, meet the needs? But I've heard of people coming because they are being persecuted by gangs, cartels. It's mostly violence-based. And, of course, poverty comes into play because they don't have the same job opportunities as we do here. And a lot of our immigrant community is a hardworking community. They're working in the fields. They're working hard labor jobs that typically a lot of U.S. citizens don't want to work in. Yeah. And that's the truth, because I mean, personally, I don't want to work in ag, right? That's hard labor.
I did it for 3 summers. My father-in-law is a farmer.
Yeah.
So he kind of did this Rachel Leah thing where we were, I was dating his daughter and he had me work in the fields. And so I moved pipe in the fields for 3 summers. It's 110 outside. This is the worst job I've ever had.
Yeah.
It was good to understand, but I'm like, I can't imagine doing this for 40 years, 50 years. This is work no one wants to do.
Exactly.
And immigrants really are providing all that food for us.
They really are. And they take pride in their work, because there's U.S. citizens that are Mexican-American working in the fields, and that's because they love it. They also are super passionate they see it as an art. Especially when they're doing the vines for the grapes. Pruning them, they see it as, an art. And I agree, it is an art. You need to know how to do that type of work. Yeah. You can't just go out and do it. But my family comes from, they're butchers, actually. So my dad is a butcher, and my mom by craft, just loves cooking. So
I need to go to your house.
Yes, yes.
That sounds delicious already.
Yes, my mom's cooking is the best. And my dad, his dad was a butcher. His dad was a butcher. So it comes from a line of, hardworking. My dad always tells us, we had to walk miles and miles with the pigs and the goats, and it's hard. It's hard. And so my dad always instilled, this is not the type of job that I would want for you guys. And, and I am so grateful for my parents and the sacrifice that because they still do. thankfully they own their own business. I mean, immigrants have they're resilient. You know, we have a lot of our immigrant community are business owners. Like my parents, a lot of their friends are business owners, and that's something that our immigrant community is. They come here to grow and be better.
Yeah.
And that's why I really hate when Trump, says they're all criminals and kind of demonizes everyone.
I mean, going on the conversations, I'm sure as an organization, you have a ton of conversations around these issues. What do you think is, what do you think is under the like rhetoric or the fear that's being put out or the blame that's being put out on immigrants? You know, like knowing I was a political science and history major at FPU.
Nice.
Did you take Richard Unruh classes? Was he still there when you were there?
No,
He
Kincaid,
was the best. Okay. America has always, we need immigrants, and then at a certain moment we feel like we have too many or the economy shifts, and then we start blaming them, right? This is this is America's favorite pattern to be like, we love immigrants. Oh, now we're scared of them. These ones can't come in. These ones can't come in. And who that is always shifts, right? Whether it was Irish, whether it's Polish folks, whether it's Asians, whether it's Mexicans, it's always been part of our story. Why in this current moment do you think I think immigrants and immigration is taking the forefront of this really tough language? Any thoughts or?
I feel like that's really complex. I think that
not a simple question.
Yeah, it's no, you're good. It's not, because I think that a lot of people see the issue at the border, right? Like there's a lot of people, seeking to come into the U.S. So I think that people, see that as an influx of people, Trump is saying. But I think that once Trump made his thoughts known, that's when people came out of their little caves and started to spew this rhetoric. But it's kind of honestly interesting because a lot of the states where they're mostly red, there's not a large immigrant community. Like California is blue. We have a lot of immigrants here. And I would say that we're very pro-immigrant. But other states, I don't think that they have experienced immigrants the way that we have here in the Valley. So
you're saying up close contact actually kind of reduces that stigma or that fear?
Yes, I think so, because all they see is based on the news. And obviously the news is going to portray, they're going to put out the news of the immigrant committing the crime. That's what's newsworthy. They're not going to put out, immigrants are here picking the fields and putting your vegetables, fruit on the table. They're going to show what, what's newsworthy. So I think that, and especially because, the cartels are such a prominent, thing in the media nowadays, not even the news, they create shows about them. So I think that stigmatizes a lot of immigrants as well, saying, they're probably part of the cartel or, they commit the same type of crimes. So I don't think that helps either. But that's a loaded question. I feel,
I think it's worth. It's always worth examining and recognizing we're in a historical moment, right? Mm-hmm. And I think we're in a cultural moment that fear, words, and rhetoric is used to incite us to action, right? Yeah. And it's a political strategy to win. Mm-hmm. It works. It has always worked. You mentioned that we have a broken immigration system, and tell me more about that. I didn't know that you are connected to the National Immigration Forum. They're a really great resource if anybody wants to learn more. Where they've been out to the Valley a couple times, and they're really trying to have a common sense, hey, we actually do need to reformat our border policy. We need to format our immigration policy. What are some of the things that frustrate you the most of hey, this is just so broken that we can't move forward. This is why, What is broken about our system?
Yes. Yeah. So in my personal opinion, there are many things broken about the system. So the last time that we had any kind of reform was in the 90s. And I'm that's a long time ago. So much has changed in the world. We definitely need new immigration reform. But I can give you an example of a false claim to U.S. citizenship. If a non-citizen claims that they are a U.S. citizen in any form, that makes you automatically ineligible for any immigration benefit. So I think that is such a harsh, there's people that commit crimes that could be forgiven, but that just a statement cannot be forgiven at all. And also, I hate the term anchor babies, but, undocumented people that have kids here in the United States, they sometimes are not able to petition for their parents to get residency because it involves like a consular processing. They have to return. Immigration law states, any person that comes into the U.S. unlawfully has to return to their home country for their interview at a U.S. consulate in their home country. And there's also like bars. So if you leave the country, you get a bar for 10 years if you've been here for more than a year unlawfully. So if the parent wants to leave, they have to stay out 10 years and then they can apply for residency. But the reality is that a lot of them can't, abide by that.
I can't remember the timeline, but I remember if you were from Mexico and you left and applied, it was like a 20-something year wait. Just like they only have it's like a quota, right? Only a certain amount of people make that quota. So you're 20, 25 years in line.
Yeah, and it's like it's never going to advance. And it's like there's waivers available, but for that type of waiver, you have to have a family parent or spouse, U.S. citizen or resident. And a lot of parents are left out. And it's like, well, why can't you make the kid be able to apply for that waiver for you? So that's something that's really, a lot of immigration advocates, we find that very frustrating. And yes, like U.S. citizen wants to petition for their sibling. That's going to take 25 plus years. We've seen the categories, it's taking forever. So I think the backlog as well, there needs to be a system that's, faster or doesn't really put a bar on people because there's, like you said, there's a 25-year wait. There's a 30-year wait. And it's like if these people are facing persecution in their country, they're not going to wait. And so I think that's asylum. There's a huge issue there too. But, that's something that we try. Family-based immigration is probably the most used immigration relief. So I think that in general would, if it was reformed, it would help a lot of people get status. Yeah.
Well, and again, I think it goes back to the economics too, that we as a country and even as, all first world countries are seeing this, that they're having birth declines. So literally our future generations, we aren't having enough kids to actually keep our economy going in the next 20, 30 years. Immigration is going to be so important for us. What do you think that I know within, so MCC is part of the Mennonite church, right? And it's kind of the missions arm of the Mennonite church. I know a lot of Mennonite churches, especially in the Valley, that are really, really conservative and would in some ways be anti-immigrant. What do you think they miss, or what is the gap that you're I wish you could see this side of folks that I see? Or I don't know, what is the disconnect that you feel like folks have, either in terms of connection or theology or I don't know, whatever that would be?
I think that I know we were talking about, some Mennonite churches are more conservative than others. And I think that a lot of them is that they don't understand the experience or they aren't aware. Because it is true, a lot of people are not aware of how hard it is for someone to become a resident in the U.S. or to come here the legal way. They don't understand that there's, a 20-year wait time at times. So I think that comes into play a lot is they don't understand the immigration process and also the experience of an immigrant. A lot of people are privileged of not having to come, from another country and uproot your life and establish it somewhere else where you don't know the community or anything about the country. So,
there's so many generations in that they've forgotten it, right? So almost everybody here in America, right, is an immigrant. Everyone. And so I think if those stories aren't told and that experience isn't named, my grandpa is 94. And his mom came from Prussia, kind of Ukraine area. and then went to Kansas, and then out to Bakersfield, and then I'm now in Fresno. And so he grew up speaking German in the house, right? Like, so he is connected to the immigrant story. But like my dad and my experience is like so far from that, right? We're just like middle-class white American, you know? But like knowing that story, we've forgotten who we are. And like that, like my great-grandma, great-grandma and great-great-grandma, right, had to really like give up everything and like be foreigners in this land, learn the language, be like an outcast in their community. You know?
So it's all, it's funny that you mentioned that because our executive director, Dina, we were talking about that. Like, hey, we need to help these people remember their immigrant story. Because like you said, everyone is an immigrant. We, came, whether it's generations or recently, I think that entails a lot, like remembering where you come from, because, like you said, your grandfather probably didn't have it as easy as you know?
So the stories, I'm like, what? That's crazy.
Exactly. I'm like, they went through a lot. Like the first generations go through a lot. And I'm technically first generation because I'm the first to be born here. My parents came as adults. So I always think like, it's very close to me, everything that my parents went through. But I'm like, man, are my like grandkids going to forget about the hardship that, my parents went through to get our family here? So I'm like, that's something that I think I'm going to instill in myself for my future generations is to don't forget where you come from, because now you have it easy, but we didn't at some point.
Well, and I think that's what I love about the scriptures too, because the scriptures, you see it over and over, right? The immigrant story of leaving your homeland, going into, the promised land, going out of Egypt, Jesus actually being a refugee, leaving his land, going into Egypt and coming back. Like you see it over and over in the law, Deuteronomy and Leviticus. The folks writing that, put that together, are like, don't forget, like you were a sojourner, you were a foreigner, you've lived that experience. And that thing gets passed down for 1,000 years, but each time they're reminding each generation, like, hey, like leave a little in the fields for the folks that are also new to this land, right? And the folks that get a Sabbath are not just your own people. It's the immigrant and the sojourner, right? Like there was laws and policies and things built into the way that people of Israel lived, to say like, don't forget who you are. Like you're that too.
Yes, it's so true. Like, as you said, Jesus is a refugee. And I think that Christians, we forget, like, hey, read the Bible simply because it shows like have mercy on others, to love your neighbor, like don't spread hate. Because I think that because of the rhetoric that Trump is using, he's allowing others to, spread hate towards our immigrant community. And it's like, have compassion like Jesus had on others. And I think that's something that I instill in my own life is try to be Jesus-like, like showing compassion, being empathetic, helping others, putting others before myself, because I have the privilege of having the ability of helping others, and I'm going to use that to the best of my ability. But yeah, because it's hard times. It's hard times in the immigrant community. Our community is so scared. We receive calls every day. ICE is here, ICE is there. People that have faced racist remarks in real life, and it's like, I wish I could be there to defend them, but, we can't be there, and all we can do is empower them. And that's something that we do as MCC is, informing them of their rights.
Ever wondered what makes your neighborhood unique, or how the history of your city shapes the places you love today? Well, now you can explore the story of Fresno like never before, right from your car using the VoiceMap app. Introducing the Every Neighborhood Partnership Drive Tour, a self-guided audio tour that brings your community's history, landmarks, and stories to life. As you drive through local streets, EMP's Drive Tour will guide you with fascinating insights into the people, places, and events that have shaped your neighborhood. Whether you're discovering hidden gems, learning about community activism, or simply enjoying a fresh perspective on familiar places, this tour is a great way to connect with Fresno in a whole new way. So, what are you waiting for? Tap into the Every Neighborhood Partnership Drive Tour today on VoiceMap and get to know your community like never before. Download the VoiceMap app, search for the Every Neighborhood Partnership Tour, and start exploring now. Fresno's story is waiting to be discovered.
What are some of you all do, obviously the legal services, the legal kind of pathways, navigation of the immigration system, but you also do some other kind of stuff around it. So say about the Know Your Rights stuff.
Yeah, so as you know, the mass deportations is a huge thing right now. We know things are developing as they go, but right now we've seen ICE locally in Kern County, Fresno County, and so we've had
And
to...
is ICE, because I also heard Border Patrol has done some things.
Right.
Are those separate entities or are those the same entities?
Separate entities. Okay. So the Customs and Border Patrol is supposed to take care of the border and 100 miles out. And then ICE is customs enforcement, so they are more enforcing immigration law. Yeah. So they can be more internal, but separate entities. And now we are having to meet the need of doing Know Your Rights presentations. Yeah. So churches have reached out to us. We've already done 2 presentations at churches, and we have 3 scheduled this month for churches as well. And then we have some schools for March, and super busy, right? But in these we're trying to meet the need. Presentations, we present on knowing your rights. So we tell our community, hey, these are your rights. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to not answer any questions, not let them in your home without a warrant, whether that be a search warrant or arrest warrant. And we give them examples of what a warrant actually looks like. It has to be signed by a judge, have your name, have the correct address. So it's mostly empowering them about their rights and to... Because
what's happening is, at least as much as I understand, is ICE or Border Patrol is sweeping up folks that need to be arrested, have committed crimes but then there's kind of like a wave that like folks that aren't also will get caught in that net.
Exactly. Exactly. Because they can go for one person, but if they also can get the next, they'll do it. And we've been seeing in the news that it's working. People are invoking their rights. They're saying, we don't want to answer your questions because, as we know, ICE does not care. They are going to violate our rights, and we're teaching our community to really kind of be assertive in enforcing their rights because it's really important. And I think that another aspect that is important to that is family preparedness plan. So we're helping them, prepare their families in case they do get arrested by ICE, is having all of their kids' informations in order, having a guardian that could, take care of them while they're in detention. So I think that goes hand in hand with knowing your rights, but also being prepared for the worst. Yeah.
That's really good. I think, again, in this moment of scarcity, and this moment of I think we're in a moment where it feels like the economy is shrinking. Our future is not as bright as what every generation in America we've thought, the next generation is going to have it better. We're kind of in a moment where I don't know if the next generation is going to have it better, and that's creating a lot of fear, a lot of we're placing the blame on immigrants. I think that's my assessment of this. And I think the kingdom invitation is always that we have enough. We do have enough, and we don't need to do that. I do think we need some reform. So is MCC involved in kind of the policy conversations, or are there any groups that you're if somebody wants to learn about, these are groups that are trying to change our policy, our broken immigration system, because ultimately we need an act of Congress. Mm-hmm. Congress doesn't talk. They don't work together. Yes. We just do a lot of presidential actions, both on the left and the right. So we need Congress to work together and actually come up with a comprehensive immigration reform. Are there any groups that you go, they talk about it really well, I can join them? Or is that stuff MCC does?
Yeah, so the National Immigration Forum, like you mentioned, I think that they're a great resource. Also, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, during the Biden administration, the United Farm Workers Foundation tried to help with some type of reform so they do great work as well, and they're local. So they do policy work. As for MCC, I believe we do have a policy program in DC, but right now we're dealing mostly with, what's coming.
Local issues.
Yeah, our local issues. But yeah, there's great orgs out there that do a lot of the ACLU as well. Those are definitely orgs. The National Immigration Legal Project as well. But yeah, there's a lot of orgs that do great work. And like you said, we're kind of working against red Congress and then red presidency, so Republican.
And whatever we do is going to have to work for both. I think that the hard part is it's going to be a compromise, right? Like there are going to be, I think all the future stuff is there's got to be a pathway to citizenship. There's got to be clearer border policy and enforcement. You're going to have to give up stuff on both sides if we're actually going to pass anything. But what is working is not what we have is not working, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's so divisive, but at some point, some people are going to have to just meet in the middle because it needs to be done.
Well, I appreciate the work you all are doing. One kind of question I'd love to just hear is you're with these families, you hear this story, you even see the news and see the intentional disruption and fear that's created. What are you doing for yourself to be sane and just live in the moment and be prayerful? I don't know, what are the self-care, spiritual care things that you're doing or the staff is talking about as you feel this heightened moment? Yeah.
So it's it's kind of hard, right? Because my family is an immigrant family, so I feel even after work we're talking about Trump. Everything all the changes that he's making. But I really try to make it a point, hey, can we not talk about anything right now? Let's just talk about our days. Because or else I would go crazy because I'm reading about it all day. I'm dealing with it all day. So I think that's really important. Dinner time is just dinner.
Turn it off.
And, going to church and really just letting God, use me as a tool for my community, because prayer helps a lot too, to just really calm myself, because I feel it's very anxiety inducing. And I can't imagine, my clients in our immigrant community. So I'm just really praying for them and praying for myself and, our org and all the orgs that are in this type of work, because it's hard times and it's just the beginning, right? So we're kind of, gearing up and bracing ourselves. But I think that's the most important. And just spending time with family and friends. You can never go wrong with spending time with family and friends. And God. So prayer and just really being intentional with spending time with loved ones.
Yeah, I think in the news culture, you're so inundated with it that and everybody's reacting to everything.
Social media.
Like you said, having boundaries and just being I've had enough today. I'm good. I have great people around me, and I will live in this moment. That's good advice. Where would you point us if we want to learn more about MCC? If we want to, I know even you all and the larger organization are doing webinars and trainings and other things that we could follow. How do we learn more about MCC and about your work?
Yeah, so our website, mcc.org. Feel free to visit to learn more about our org, and all of our locations information is on there. As I said, we have an office here in Reedley and then in Upland area. And if anybody wants to schedule an appointment, they can reach out to us via phone number, and our address is on the website as well.
Awesome. Well, Mariana, thank you so much. This is a great conversation, and appreciate the work you're doing. May you keep the faith, keep the joy.
Yes, thank you.
And the next years to come.
Thank you for having me, Andrew. I appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in. If you want to find out more about EMP, you can visit us at everyneighborhood.org or follow us at EMP Fresno. Every Neighborhood Partnership and this podcast exists to activate, equip, mobilize, and transform here in Fresno and beyond. If you liked what you've heard, please share and review what's good in the neighborhood wherever you listen. We'll see you next time.